Welcome back. We're here once again with Rachel Marie, and I am Candie Zenon, your life improvement coach. And we're talking about manifestations. Yes, I'm so excited, Rachel. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another ConverSAGEtions. I appreciate you sharing your Sunday evening with us. I am Candie Zenon, your life improvement coach for the single mompreneur, helping her create personal transformation, finding the funds to fund her vision finally, and also creating a legacy for her children. If you want more information on that, please contact me at my website at candiezenon.com. Here we are again with another show with Rachel Marie. Welcome, Rachel.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be talking about manifestations, especially at the beginning of the new year, new us, new beginnings. And I really feel it with you teaching us manifestations, we can really live an intentional life with a purpose, for a purpose, on purpose. So we will hear more about manifestations with Rachel. She'll be talking about insight into our human desire for validation and how to utilize it for manifestation. Stay tuned for these announcements. Welcome back. So if you want that book, you want to get your copy, you want to continue the celebration of winning, go to my website, candiezenon.com, and grab the book. All right, Rachel, let's get to it, girl. So we're talking about insight into our human desire for validation and how to utilize it for manifestations. So you're saying that we are in need of others to validate us? Okay, so introduce us, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then break this on down.
Hi, I'm Rachel Marie. It's great to be here. I just love you, Candie. I can't wait to get your book, volume 2. And I'm an author and coach at Manifestation Sanctuary on Facebook. I have written a book called Manifestation Chose Me, and I'm in the process of writing my second book currently. And I'd like to come along and break down a validation and create some balance around that word. I know it's a buzzword right now. So our intention today is create a shift in your attitude toward it, toward the word validation, and how much is too much, and are we constantly seeking? So when I was younger and when I first learned about manifestation, I didn't have the insight to understand like how the seeking of others' opinions and how other people felt about me, how it was inhibiting my manifestation. But I knew that it's human nature to seek approval. And that's why we wake up in the middle of the night and check, or maybe not middle of the night, but wake up and check if how many likes we got on that last picture we posted. Or there's even people who will take down their posts if they didn't get enough likes on it. And it's like,
Wow.
where's the balance? So with
Uh-huh.
all of the tips and tricks out there, the things that you learn taking classes, setting your intentions and all the ideas, it's easy to stay on the surface level of creation, like with your essential oils. I even have an essential oil from doTERRA called Balance, and
Oh,
it's a
wow.
grounding blend. And when you first learn about it, it's fun,
Mhm.
it's fun to think I'm going to set my intentions with this oil and smell it. But after a while, it becomes something that's like almost like a fad.
Mhm.
Manifestations just something that you do, and you set your intentions, and if you get it, yay, and if you don't, you just release it to the universe. But there's so much more. So my feelings on the surface, they were like abundant and joyful, and that validated for me that manifestation was real, because it boosted my energy. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That, in fact, we all start somewhere, but you have to crawl before you walk. So
Mhm.
with this opportunity to be here with you, I'd like to get just a little bit deeper, but still hopefully make it easy to understand. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you.
Yes, I am excited too. And it's a ebook, right? So you would get that book right away as soon as you pay. Rachel, so when you're talking about self-validation, do you think that was something that happened in childhood? Is that from the need to be like, is that just an innate desire, or is that a learned desire?
I think that there's a lot of people, teachers, coaches, and like hypnotists that will try to take you back to your first time that you asked for validation from another person and try to heal you around that. But
Mm,
I feel like that can actually lead to like self-centeredness in a way as well, to where you think I no longer need that, but it's not true. So I mean, I think that we're naturally born like that, and so for anyone to create a program around trying to release your opinion of everyone else's opinion and completely get rid of it, it'll never work.
mhm,
So they'll constantly have you as I guess as a consumer of their information, praying that feeling of acceptance will go away, or that feeling of seeking another person's validation. But there's so many conflicting ideas about it. So one article might say that it's completely insidious to seek approval from anyone but yourself, and then they'll say like validation seeking is a symptom of low self-esteem, and that you shouldn't even be on Facebook if you have low self-esteem. But we know that a lot of people don't follow that rule necessarily. Not many people take that seriously, because I
mhm,
think there's a lot more people on Facebook with low self-esteem than the people that aren't sitting there scrolling all day. I don't know. But
mhm,
other articles warn that if you don't seek any form of validation at all, you might fall into like a form of self-centered decision making.
mhm,
um it's something that you can't. Why fight it? What my intention is to seek, or my intention is to explain the way that we can balance ourselves around
mhm.
it.
And I love what you're saying, but as you're talking, I am thinking about raising my three girls. And I have three girls who I lovingly, affectionately call the Candie girls, and they all have three different personalities. And I just remember encountering each teacher, like teachers throughout the years, who started introducing difference and try to, in each year or each session or each opportunity, introduce this pattern of cookie cutterness. Like, so I think that doubt starts to seep in when you have been told, oh, you're not supposed to color outside of the lines. Like, I have one child who would color and none of her colors touch. Every color has their own space. I have one child who loved to mix the colors and create new colors. So each one of them have their own different personalities. But it was somebody came along the way and said, no, you can't do it like that, or you can't use that color, or you can't have that particular thing. What about this thing? Case in point, it was I think it was a homeschooler consultant, because my daughters used to be homeschooled. And she asked both of them what did they like to do or what did they want to be when they grew up. And one said a fashion and interior. No, one said a pastor. One said a pastor. And she said, well, you would need a real career. So I was
Oh.
like, no, you don't get to define what she has been birthed and purpose for. If you not here to cultivate it, speak life into it, hone it, you know, direct her, you can't change it. You can't direct her away from the purpose and versus give her instruction within her purpose. So slowly but surely she started, I noticed throughout the years, start changing that she wanted to be a pastor to now she wanted to be a fashion and interior designer. So fashion and interior designer was part of her too. That was in her, but I believe that that came to the forefront, which as it was in the recess of her mind, but now at the forefront of her mind because somebody pointed out and said that's different, and you have to fit inside this mold in order to have a real career or to be acceptable. You know what I'm saying? So I think when we start coloring outside of the lines and then we start remembering the fact that somebody told us we could not do that, we look to somebody next to us and say, is this okay? You know, do you like this? Is this color okay? Do these jeans make me look fat? Because somebody said you look fat in the jeans, right? So we start asking and seeking that validation because somebody along the way said that that person looked fat in their jeans or that color did not look good on that person. So I think some healing needs to take place and finding balance in how we can seek people opinions because sometimes we're crazy in our own minds, but we don't have to allow their opinions to define who we are. So we can hear what others have to say, and that's okay, but then we ultimately get to choose who we want to be for what feels good in our spirits. That's
And that
that's what
must
I
be
hear.
difficult. That must be difficult as a parent because you want to say, don't listen to them, or you want to give advice after that, but it's already in their subconscious mind. And
Exactly.
that's where she didn't, the instructor didn't think of her words, is this going to help or is this going to hurt, before she
Mhm.
decided to say those words, because
Mhm.
that's opinion and it's not helpful, and you as an adult can see that. But
Mhm.
it reminds me of my first grade teacher. I had used forest green instead of green, and she came up and she really got on me hard. And I think the reason I remember it is because she died of a heart attack. She was like 30 something years old, and she died of a heart attack that summer. So we were her last class ever. And she never really connected with me, but she did decide that my forest green was too dark of a green and that I was wrong because I was using that color when I was supposed to be using just green. And I mean, the
Wow.
first grader, I'll never forget that because it
Mhm.
went somewhere back here. But that's perfect. That's perfect reason, like example of the reason why we must teach this and why we must get it out there. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I thank you
It's
for
critical.
bringing this conversation to the table because it needs to be had. So, give us step one: how to identify our desire for validation.
Okay. The impulses of energy and manifestation, they're reflected in our attitude toward life. So in this case, toward validation. And I'll give you an example of like Dr. Chopra, Deepak Chopra. He said,
Mhm.
our attitudes are an outcome of our expressions of self-engendered impulses and energy and information. So impulses of energy and information is what a manifestation is. Um, they're individual and personal and change depending on input of information we subject ourselves to or are thrown on us by random teachers or strangers throughout our lives. Validation is critical for building healthy relationships. If you're not validated and especially if you're paying money to a
Right,
coach, to a doctor, to a
right.
person that's helping your children with homeschool,
Mhm.
then you hold on to that. So
Mhm.
understanding the need for validation for a balanced and healthy validation skills creates a change in your actions. And then that knowledge is enough to create an internal shift. So it's not necessarily just a 1, 2, 3 process. It's accepting it as a new way of thinking. And a lot of, it's hard to change our habits and patterns of thinking. But the first one number one would be intention. So course creators will define intention as something that we create with our thoughts.
Okay.
And a plan of action, like they'll encourage you to write out a plan of action, set the right intentions, and that's fine. Even Dr. Chopra, even though he understands that intentions are there before the thought, and he teaches that, he still says to write powerful intention, and encourages that, and that's great. But the way that we look at our intentions, they're there on a vibrational level before we are capable of before we're able to put them into words. Our thoughts are actually our words are actually secondary to our intention. We have to have that intention to know what words we're going to put to those thoughts.
Okay.
Okay.
And so is that where we create the shift in our attitude?
Yes.
Okay.
When you learn how to validate other people, even if you don't agree with them, then, and your intention is to accept their emotions, not internalize their emotions, but accept their emotions enough to be able to validate them as a human being, because we're seeking that, we're seeking the emotional impact. Say, for instance, you're riding in the car with your teenage daughter and you're both lost in thought. And then you're like, in your mind or in your heart, you're like, I want to connect with her right now. So you drive by, say, a really nice car, and you're like, I really love the color of that car. Now that's what's called a bid. You're bidding for her emotional response.
Okay.
A healthy relationship, that person will respond to your bid and regard your emotions, whether they agree with you or not. They'll come back with something like, yeah, that's all right. I prefer that color of car. And you're not really, the intention has nothing to do with the car. It has nothing to do with your day or what's going on. It has something to do with the connection that you're inspired to make with her at that moment.
Okay.
And they say in unhealthy marriages, only 3 of every 10 bids get responded to emotionally. And then you just don't feel that emotional connection with your spouse. And it seems extremely trivial. Well, all I said was, how was your day? And, it had really nothing to do with how their day was. So then you think, well, I'm just being petty, and I don't need to be validated if I'm being petty. And they think, well, you just asked me some dumb question. You don't need to be validated. But it's important in relationships to build a healthy relationship, no matter if it's even just your server at a restaurant. To know where they're at, respond in a healthy emotional way, and then to not take it personally if their intentions weren't to validate you.
Okay.
And that goes into the second one, reciprocation. So how we give is how we receive. So you manifest reciprocation by changing your perspective. One of my coaches, Clemento, he taught me, and I coach him as well, so we share coaching. He taught me about energy. Like, you can actually, send someone energy and through your prayers. And I mean, I believe in that. I really do. But it's more fun. It's definitely more fun to send someone positive energy if they're sending it back, give and take. But it's understood that without emotional validation, a relationship can't last. At least it can't last long, and it can't be healthy if it does last. So when we give like that bid for support, it's like saying, it's not what they respond with per se, but how their energy is when they respond. That really is the make or break part of your relationship. But you can't always control that with other people. So understanding that you have no power over their response is key. But when they see a shift in you and how you use your words and your thoughts and your language and change with them. You like change your, even if it's a little bit of a shift, a tiny shift, it's like priming the pump or priming the well, or priming the pump. You have to have just a little cup of water and then it'll get all the water flowing. So people can see the change in you and how you respond to them, and their response slowly but surely makes a change back. So if someone's cold or like really unemotional, they're likely someone who doesn't understand the need for your validation. They just don't understand that they're manifesting their treatment the way you treat them as well. But the understanding is key. So the actions that you choose to take, they'll evolve based on, of course, based on the person or the daughter, which daughter you're talking to, or which teacher, or who you're approaching, and in what position they are compared to you at the current moment. So like when I coach Clemento, we're on a different level. When he coaches me, we're on a different level. And the best times are when we're just both having a conversation. Like
I love it. I love it.
Learn from each other.
When you're talking about sending energy, I have this fun little story when I sent a bid for support, so to speak, to my mom, she was like over 600 miles away. Something occurred at that moment. I was frustrated, I was mad, I was hurt, and I needed my mom. And so I said it out loud. I said, I need my mom. And the phone rang. And it was my mom on the other line, on the other end. And she said, did you call me? And I was like, yes, ma'am, I called you, but not on the telephone. Because our words have power. They have presence, and they're not bound by any geographical location. So if you send out the word and you send out that energy, you can feel it. It's just like when somebody call you on the phone, and maybe you just came out of a whirlwind of emotional turmoil, anger, frustration, anxiety, whatever. They can feel it. They can feel it when you pick up the phone, because energy isn't destroyed, it's only transferred. So they may ask you what's wrong before they even hear your voice. So I just wanted to throw that out there when you start talking about energy, and just identify how powerful energy is, and our presence as we enter and exit a room. You want to give your best and you want to leave it better.
That's beautiful. I completely agree. I'm trying to think of the word in India, a Hindu word. I think it's not Rudabunga. It might be Rudabunga, but it's when dealing with grief. The human body has a physical connection to people, and when they're, perhaps when they're gone, there's actually 4 stages in their beliefs. There's 4 stages, and one is from the age of birth to 21, and that's when the ages of 0 to 7. If a baby loses their parent, they don't feel it as, or it actually has to do with the actual feeling in your body of pain, depending on your age. So the difference in a feeling in your body of losing a parent would be different from losing a child, would be different from losing a husband, things like that. So learning about that, the energy systems and how, and our emotional connection on a physical level is really interesting too, because it's not just emotional or spiritual. It can actually cause physical pain. And in the United States, or in English, we don't really have words for that kind of pain. And so people think of it as, what do they call it? Woo. And they'll just write it off as fluff or a coincidence. But my mom's pretty awesome. She's an awesome manifester. She's got a cool story. They were doing a raffle where your name gets in after you get so many donations at her job. She actually is a grocery checker for a big grocery store here.
Okay.
And for months and months, they put their name into this big wheel. Well, she was working the self-checkout, so she couldn't go to the wheel at the time, but she kept asking, when are they going to draw my name? When are they going to draw my name? And she stands up and she goes, I won! Out of nowhere, had no idea why she said it, and they drew her name.
Wow. I love it. I love it.
And one day, she called me right when I needed to leave and I needed to find my keys. And my mattress and my box springs were on my floor of my old house. And she said, they're under your bed. And I said, they're not under my bed. I don't have it under my bed. And she goes, just go look. And I pulled up my, where my comforter was kind of laying on the floor, and they were right there. Thank you, Mom.
Wow.
No idea how you
Yes.
knew.
Thank you, Mom.
No idea how you knew.
Thank God for moms, right?
Yeah, I work with a lot of orphans right now. But I can feel the spiritual connection that like my coach Marie Claudine Makomabano has with her mom. She hasn't
Mhm.
seen her in life since she was 15 years old, but she taught her that she was from day one that she was a powerful person. She never cut her down or never let her cut herself down. And
Mhm.
that's how my mom is with me, you know. She always
Mhm.
says, remember where you came from. Remember where you came from if I ever feel down. And it doesn't take that primes my pump, and it, you know, it'll stop the tears or anything else, because yeah, we're all children of God, and we're not animals. We have this spirit, and where did we come
Mhm.
from? But from a place of love.
From a place of love. I'm excited. So, once again, if you're just joining us, we are talking with Rachel Marie. She is the author of Manifestations Chose Me, and we're talking about our human desire for validation. And she has shared 2 tips so far. One is intention, write our intentions down, right? Number 2, reciprocate, the art of reciprocation. And what is tip number 3?
Embrace your humanness.
Okay.
I know it
Separation.
sounds funny, but you have to allow yourself and your loved ones to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge and accept your emotions for what they are, and don't get caught up in the collective emotions of people who thrive on engineered concepts such as like racism and classism and things that are engineered. They're not natural.
Right.
You know, they're not something that we have as little children. They're
Right.
something that were learned and put onto us.
Right.
So our humanness doesn't accept or understand us as human beings in a natural state, you know, of abundance and of growth, and say like, I wouldn't say like in a commune environment, but in an environment of give and take, you
Mm-hmm.
know, people that instead of being greedy, that they are doing it for a reason, like charity, altruism. um Charity and giving is natural. It's human. It's not human to hoard. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's natural to want to feed your children and want to feed your friends' children, and you automatically make sure that they're taken care of in their bodies. But then you get in your head and you get that, oh, there's a lack, and if the minute someone thinks lack, they think gimme, gimme, gimme. I need to
Scarcity.
stock up. I
Mm-hmm.
need to get what I can get first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll worry about helping my neighbor. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'll worry about feeding the orphans in Rwanda or what have you, which is,
Mm-hmm.
that's a charity I donate to, is to help people with a lot less than we have. When people are selfish and they don't accept their humanness, they're stingy. They'll, for instance, we did a charity drive this, and people are still asking and helping and donating to our charity. But
Mm-hmm.
when they immediately hear you asking, they think, I don't have it, and they go straight into the lack. Well, it's Christmas time. I have gifts to buy. I just don't have it right now. For instance, my sister, she's like, well, we're saving up to fly with our baby to, their baby's going to be born in March, and they're saving up to fly to uh, Monterey, to Carmel, where his parents live, and take their baby on vacation and stuff. And it's like, that's great. But if you don't realize that as human beings, that if you have abundance, that it fills your heart up and it validates you in a way, self-validation, to be able to know that you helped someone, and it gives you, giving gives you more validation than taking any day. And I think we all learn that through the holidays, you know, and we're excited that we can see someone open the gift that we spent time and energy to, and like focused on their pleasure, and then we give that to them, and they're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and then you take their gift, you give a gift, and it's like give and take. But I think that people don't see it on as charitably anymore in the United States, especially. We're almost not human. We're almost treating each other as commodities when we don't give validation, and when we don't accept it for ourselves. Also, appreciation is big. You know, humanness, it is human to show your appreciation
Mm-hmm.
um, of other people. Like, for example, if someone takes something that's yours, um, and doesn't give you the credit for it, that feeling of it being invalidated is actually more important than what they took. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's on a deeper level, a more human level than what what you have,
Mm-hmm.
than what you have earned. I've earned that with my money, or I spent
Mm-hmm.
all my time giving just for them to say, like, for instance, my kid's dad, he's been with me for so long through all my manifestation journey, and then for him to turn and say, I don't believe in that, and for me to spend so long to teach him, and for him to accept it, and then for him to turn around and invalidate me and say that it's just a bunch of malarkey or whatever, whatever word he wants to use for it to other
Mm-hmm.
people behind my
Mm-hmm.
back, or to say, that like make the comment like stupid book, when my book has actually sold many copies and has fed orphans in Rwanda. You have to have the people that don't honor your humanness in order for you to be tested whether you're going to honor theirs. Like, you have to
That's
have that test.
beautiful. You have the choice. You could get frustrated or you could release them to be them. And it's okay. Rachel, on this platform, on ConverSAGEtions, we love to say, what is the one thing that we live by? And what is the one thing that you could share with us today from this lesson that you want us to take away and just live better when it comes to validation, reciprocation, writing down our intentions? If I was to turn off this show right now and go and add these 3 steps to my life, what is the one thing you want me to know to take it to make my life just a little bit better?
I would say ask for what you need, receive what you need out of it, and release the rest to the universe. Release it to God.
Ask, receive, release.
Yes, ask for what you need. If you need to be validated, it is okay to ask for it. If you want a testimonial from, say, you gave someone advice or free coaching, or like I asked my son Clayton um, for help with this teaching validation, and he said, Mom, I really respect, and he's not Christian. He said, I really respect your intentions behind behind what you're teaching. He said, I think that they're completely honest, and I would have never known if I wouldn't have asked him for the help. He said, a lot of people have bright ideas and they want to teach it, but they do it for the wrong reasons. And he said, I think you're doing it for the right reason. He's 19 years old. And he said, I
Wow.
have a lot of respect for you for that. But if I wouldn't have called him and said, Clayton, I'm teaching validation, and I just want to have a conversation with you on it, because he's my best teacher too, then
Mhm.
I would have never known that he felt that way. And he can see that he can see that I have honest intentions and integrity, and I'm not doing it in any kind of selfish way. um it added something to me, that if I wouldn't have asked for his assistance, I would have never had that validation that I didn't even know I needed. I didn't even know how helpful that would be. Receive what the parts of it that you want to hear. You don't have to receive everybody's opinion. People Psychologists go in, and there's, say, a serial killer, and they haven't killed for 30 years, and they're going in to see if they could get integrated back into the community. They go in and they listen to their story, but they don't agree with what they're saying
Mhm.
necessarily. They don't agree with the things that they have done, but they learn how to take what they need out of the conversation in order to make the judgment and stay in their position. So as in, like, the position that they are compared to you at the moment.
Mhm.
So you have to stay in your lane, accept what you receive, what validates you and what benefits you, and then release the rest.
And release the rest. So this question is burning in my spirit. So what is the lesson you learned from this lesson that you're teaching us?
I have learned to appreciate my change in perspective more. I appreciate my perspective more now that I recognized where I was at
Mhm.
before I decided to teach this lesson and include this in my new book. Maybe where I was at 5 years ago, then I didn't realize the shift that I had made until I actually started to write it down and started to work with you and share what was in my heart. My perspective has changed so much that if I can prime the pump, just give, 10 minutes to one person to change their perspective, then they could feel how it feels in my heart. So I have learned more about my growth.
Wow.
Thank
That
you.
is beautiful. Well, I hope that you learned something too. And please share in the comments below what you've learned from this lesson, our human desire for validation. So, once again, I want to say thank you, Rachel Marie, for sharing your time. And thank you, audience. And thank you, audience, for sharing your Sunday evening. This is Candie Zenon, author and life improvement coach, and hope to see you on another Sunday. Remember, continue to love through it, learn from it, and live after it. Enjoy your evening.